Good afternoon, EXJW community. This is the Oracle coming in for another edition of my vlog. Today's topic is entitled My Reaction to the Oxygen's Witnesses documentary. Today is February 17th. And I'm home from work today. I think if you're watching the last couple of videos that I've done, you'll notice a trend of it being a holiday or a day off. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to devote to EXJW videos, although I would like to. I try to get a chance to do videos when I can, and everyone in the house went to the movies and I decided to stay home and do some things around the house that needs to be done. And I decided that I wanted to just give a quick reaction to the documentary. Welcome if this is your first time on my station or my channel. I welcome you with open arms. I'm not one of the more popular ex-Jehovah Witnesses, but I think that my substance is just as good as anyone else's. And I also believe that the more voices that we add to the EXJW advocacy for women, for children, and for people that have suffered by shunning, by sexual abuse, by pedophilia, by just violence. There's so many different elements and facets to, to the Jehovah Witness community. And there's so many different facets to the Watchtower Tract and Bible Society organization that I think it's important to have as many different voices and different perspectives as possible, because in my time of watching the videos on YouTube and watching different documentaries that come out, I sometimes feel like there are populations in the EXJW community that are the silent community in the community, that there's only a certain type of victim that is being shown to the world. And I kind of have an issue with that. I think that people need to understand that there are so many different dynamics to the Jehovah Witness organization. And if you look around my channel and you look around some of my videos, I go into that in much more detail. But I wanted to just give an overall reaction to the video. First of all, I think it was absolutely phenomenal. I am so impressed. I never thought that in my lifetime that I would see anyone taking on the Jehovah Witness organization in the manner that they're doing right now. Like, I absolutely think that the person that did the video was on spot on. Like, it was gratifying on so many levels. And because I had a 3-day weekend, I definitely made sure that I put some time in so that I could watch it in its entirety. And I am so glad that I did, because every time I think I have learned as much as I could about this organization, there's always a story or an element that just blows my mind. And there's things that I took away from the video that I was absolutely shocked about. Like, I could not believe that this is the organization that my family is a part of, that I was raised in. Like, I really don't. My entire family on both sides. Let me give a little bit of a background for those of you, if this is your first time on my video. I don't show my face because I'm afraid that my family is going to, think, I'm an apostate. I could care less. I have my own family. I have my own life, my own profession. I went to school, and I live my own life on my own terms. So, but because of the nature of my profession, I cannot show my face. And that was one of the things that kind of made me go back and forth if I even wanted to get into doing advocacy for the EXJW community. Number one, because I was so extremely busy. I'm in a lot of different organizations outside of my profession, but I couldn't show my face, and I felt like, who would even watch my channel, because I don't show my face. And I can't, I can't devote a lot of time. There's so many wonderful, extra witnesses who, some that I really believe this is all they do. But I just, I don't have that time, but I feel like my voice is just as important as anyone else's voice. And so I was like, I'll do what I can, and I'll be happy with what I've done. I am a third generation. I was born into this cult. My mother was born into this cult. My father was born into this cult. My grandparents were converted very early in their life. And I've definitely documented their perspective and things that I went through, realizations that I made, why I think my path was different than anyone else in my family. And it's really funny. I was telling my husband the other day, I'm the original gangster, if you will, in my family. I am the original black sheep. I am the first person in my family from 3 generations to tell my family outright that I thought that this religion was false. And I did that at 17. And I honestly do not believe that my family has ever reconciled with that. I'm the first person that called out the treatment of women. I'm the first person that called out about abuse. And, my family, you should hear some of the narratives that I've heard over the years about why I am the way that I am. I've heard that, oh, she's crazy, she's mean, she's insane. The funny part is that I'm probably the most successful financially and education-wise of anybody in my family. I've given money, thousands upon thousands of dollars to people in my family. Yet, because I chose to call out things, I was labeled, and I was it's been a hot and cold, and I've actually thought about doing degrees of shunning, because I don't think anyone's ever done that before. And I've definitely, it's never been an absolute shunning. One of my family members did an absolute shunning, but the degrees of shunning I think are just as interesting to kind of delve into. But I don't want to digress too much. I want to kind of just talk about my reaction to watching this documentary and what it made me feel. It's kind of funny because as I was preparing to do this video, it's still very light outside, but the sun is shining so brightly outside that I literally had to close the blinds. And I think you can kind of still see the sun kind of peeking out of my blinds as I'm telling this story. And I just thought it was such a great metaphor that the light of truth will shine through no matter what. And, when I first left this organization 25 some odd years ago, I was alone. I didn't have a community that I could tap into. There was no Facebook. There was no YouTube that was out there. There was absolutely none of the things that you see in technology now. They were not accessible then. So when you walked away from a situation like I did, which was family on both sides, friends all my family for the majority of my young life until I was about 16 we're all Jehovah Witnesses or going to the Kingdom Hall. And to walk away from that and not to have a safety net and not to have someone, no community to go to was extremely difficult. I did have some amazing people that mentored me, some trailblazers that really helped me to come full circle and to be the person that I am today. But I think it's amazing for me to see so many people now getting involved. Why, and I want to talk about why I got into it, and then I'm going to talk about my reaction. One of the reasons that I decided to do videos is because after my grandfather passed away, about 2 or 3 months after my grandfather passed away, my favorite aunt and my cousin, who was like a sister when I was growing up and we're still close, came to visit me. And they told me a lot of family secrets. And one of those family secrets was the fact that my grandfather had been molesting and raping his children throughout their lives. Another thing is that my mother suffered from mental illness throughout her life. And when I started going to college and I started learning about indicators of sexual abuse and how that manifests in mental illness, it made me start really examining the behaviors of my mother. Because as her child, as her only daughter, I only wanted to understand why my mother deteriorated the way that she did. And when I realized in myself that my mother had to have been sexually abused, the next question was who? But my grandfather was such this revered, loved person by everyone in my family, at least the way that he was communicated to the grandchildren. I was afraid to talk about my suspicions. And they held that secret until my grandfather died. And my grandfather was a presiding overseer in the city that I am from. And when I started to really get into the sexual abuse that goes on in the Jehovah Witness organization, how children are not protected, and just how the two-witness rule destroys families, the shunning destroys families, I had to put my voice into it. Because I do that. My mother transitioned. My mother passed away long before she should have, and my mother suffered for so many years with her mental illness. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart to see my mother struggle because the Jehovah Witness organization did not support and help my mother. And in a lot of ways, it contributed to her downward spiral. So that's why I do my videos, and also for my brother, who also passed away way before his time. And I think that a lot of his suffering and a lot of his pain had to do with the way that the organization is configured, and just how being different and being someone who wants to think for themselves is punished. So when I watched this video and I watched the documentary this weekend, I was ashamed and I was saddened. I was so embarrassed and angry because I could not believe that this organization has completely dropped the ball on advocating for children and advocating for sexual abuse. And they get up in front of millions of people and they say the exact opposite. And that is why I love the video as much as I did, because there is concrete proof that they cannot dispute, that they put this organization before the rights and advocacy of children. The fact that elders would sit on the side of a convicted, a perpetrator that has confessed to raping and molesting a child, they would sit in support of that person and not have any compassion and empathy for the female victims, tells me everything I need to know about this organization. There is absolutely no way there's no way that you can convince me that this organization is from God. There's no way. Because what they are doing, it's not about love. It's about the protection of an organization. It is not about children. It's not about women. It's not about families. This organization is appalling. It is to sit there and listen to this, and I listened to all 4 hours or about 4 hours, and I was in complete shock because there's people in my family that I love dearly. And I know for a fact that them being devoted to this organization, and I'm going to focus on the women, they don't see it that way. These are like kind, wonderful people that I know, that I love. When I was brought up in this organization, I didn't know all those things. The only way that you really get the truth about the truth, and this is one of their conditioning tactics by having these buzzwords, is that it's really not the truth. The fact of the matter is that when something happens to you, so if any woman comes across this, any young person comes across this, you will see the organization that you're a part of. If anything horrible, if someone attacks you, if someone sexually abuses you, if you are raped, and that is the absolute worst message to tell someone. I even hate to communicate that, because you are not protected as a child in this organization. You are not protected as a woman in this organization. You're not. And this documentary proved that. I'm sorry, but the governing body member, and I'm going to say I'm sorry, I haven't committed his name to memory, because there was a point in time when I was watching the documentary, and I just was like, I don't know if I can really get through all this, because I'm getting too upset about their blatant disregard for human rights. And I'm not just upset at the organization. I'm upset at the government for not shutting these people down. You have 1,300 cases against this organization. 1,300 cases of child abuse against this organization in New York alone. There's something wrong. There's something wrong here. There's something bigger than documentaries and ex-Jehovah Witness advocacy. There's something wrong with an organization that can get away with this, and we can't ever let up. We are tax-paying citizens of every country around the world that is doing this, and we need to hold our government accountable. They should not allow for organizations like this to be tax exempt. I'm sorry, but the whole thing was disgraceful and shameful. Shame on every single member of the governing body. If there's anyone that believes that the governing body is truly the voice of God, you need to really, I actually did a whole video on the governing body, because I definitely feel like a couple of them are classic people with some mental illness. They are absolutely delusional and puffed up with pride. And I don't mind saying it because at this point, there's too many people that have suffered. This woman, this young woman, her father wrote a letter to one of the governing body members because he helped him be converted into this organization. And because of all of the sexual abuse that his daughter suffered, he wanted him to intervene and change some of these policies. This narcissistic governing body member, he writes a company letter. Like, I'm so glad you drive the Toyota truck. I'm so glad that you haven't given up on the Toyota brand. Please continue to drive Toyota, and I'm so glad that you were not willing to stop driving Toyota. Doesn't talk about the mechanical failures of the car, refuses to address the people that were killed driving the Toyota. And I'm not saying Toyota's bad. I'm just kind of using this as an analogy. This governing body member did not in any way, shape, or form discuss retribution, discipline, changing anything to avert what had happened to this woman in her childhood. And that tells me everything that I need to know. And I just want people to continue to support this. I want to give my voice of support to all of the victims of child abuse that got on the documentary and share their story. I know that was not easy, and it is just tragic. And I think it's empowering to say that you gave your best, you did your best to try and take me down, to dismiss me, to dehumanize me, and we are still here. And we're never going to stop fighting against what this organization has done to so many different family members across the world. It has destroyed my family. You know, I don't really talk about that part of it, but like my mom's side of the family, half the family doesn't even talk to each other. There have been generations of children and grandchildren that have mental illness, that have issues, that don't even interact with each other, all because of this organization and the sexual abuse and mental abuse that nobody wants to address. The only thing they want to address is serving Jehovah. And let me tell you, like an aha moment, and I want to say it was an aha moment, because I know I've mentioned it before, but it was just so abundantly clear to me that the conditioning tactic that this organization, it is a business organization. It is an apocalyptic doomsday cult. It is a publishing empire, and it is a real estate empire. And I challenge anybody to ever be able to dispute that. But what they do is they try to ignore what is right in front of your face. And by what they do is they equate the organization with Jehovah. So when you hear the rhetoric, trust in Jehovah, don't go to the authorities, trust in Jehovah, the two-witness rule, trust in Jehovah, they were destroying documents so as to not bring a bad light on Jehovah. And they've mind controlled their members to talk about this divine entity that none of them have ever seen. And what they don't realize is that actually what this organization is doing is making you believe that. It's not about drawing negativity on Jehovah. It's about a Watchtower Tract and Bible Society organization They're the ones that are making the policies. They're the ones that keep having new light. They're the ones that are implementing all of these rules that are harming people. It's a test. You know, if you are of God, you would support children that have been sexually molested. If you were of God, you would have compassion for people that have been harmed, even as adults. This organization, can you imagine an organization saying that they're going to be here when the world is destroyed because God is going to focus on them and nobody else, but they can't justify how they've turned their back on child abuse victims? That is not from God. There is absolutely no way, shape, or form that you're going to tell me that a divine entity is focused on a label, on a group. I've said this many times and I'll continue to say it. Religion is man interpreting God. God is not a religion. Religion is man interpreting God. So all these people that are sitting up there pushing this focus on Jehovah, hold on to Jehovah. If someone beats you, if somebody rapes you, don't go to the authorities. Come to an organization that will reinstate these people, that won't tell organizations, that won't tell congregations that you have a convicted pedophile, you have somebody that's actually molested and sexually abused other children in your midst. How many millions of dollars will it take for people to wake up? Here's what I think we should do. Continue the conversation. I will do my part. I didn't have a lot of time, but I, number one, want to commend all of the people that did it, from the Oxygen to the executive producer to all of the people behind the scenes that helped to make that documentary great. I commend all the people that were a part of this. I have an impassioned plea. Please just hear me out. I am an African-American female. And when I see documentaries done about the EXJW community, I do not see enough of the voices that I know make up the majority of members in the United States. And I feel like that is wrong. And I'm not discounting or taking away from all of the people that are actually going through things, but we cannot be a group that is left out of the conversation. I did a video where I actually cited the statistical numbers of minorities that are, and I hate to use the word minorities, so let me just say people that come from diverse ethnicities in this country. And this organization, this religion, has one of the largest groups of people of diverse minorities than any other. And that has been studied. Yet, when I look at documentaries, when I see videos, I don't see those populations represented. And I would like for that to happen. Our voices are just as important. Our experiences and things that we went through are just as important. Please hear our voices. My mother did not die in vain. My brother did not die in vain. All of the members of my community that have suffered from child abuse and child sexual abuse deserve to be heard. I think that it's great that there are more people speaking out, but please, please listen to all of those people that have stories to tell. I thank you so much for listening to this. Again, it was a wonderful documentary. I commend all the people that were a part of it. We have to continue the fight. We have to continue to fight against child abuse. We have to hold this organization accountable for the mistreatment of children, and we have to continue to wake people up. I thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk very soon.